This is the frame time data for Code Rapid, an indie mecha game built on Unreal Engine 5 by a team of fewer than 10 people last time I checked. On my machine, this demo holds a minimum of 250 frames per second, but was more commonly hanging out at my monitor's reflex gap of 327 FPS in 1440. There's zero traversal stutter, zero shader compilation hitching, and no asset loading drops. For an independent UE5 title in 2026, this baseline is incredibly rare. More importantly, the soul of Mecha is here. There's parts that remind me of Armored Core, Gundam, Robotech. These devs understand what make a mecha game fun. Not a mech game, a mecha game. Less mech warrior, more anime explosions. But the game is currently fighting a war against its own design choices on a couple fronts. More on that in a bit. Now, before we get too carried away here, full disclosure time, I've had access to this for several months now. Not because I got fancy YouTube early access, but because I backed this project forever ago on Patreon with my own money. So no, that's where I'm coming at this video from. The core movement mechanics are tight, but the demo is heavily dragged down by a broken camera tracking system, buried settings menus, and an identity crisis that has split the community. Though that may be more on player expectation mismatch and PEBCAC errors than anything else, but it is worth noting. The demo is absolutely worth your attention, but there are some things that do need attention as development continues. The Steam forums are currently split down the middle. One group claims that the game is a fast arcade-style successor to titles like Vanquish. The other claims it's a slow, stamina-starved Souls-like. The friction comes down to chassis weight selection. If you build a medium or heavy mech and expect Zone of the Enders mobility or think you're gonna zip around like Epion, you're gonna have a bad time. And that's not the game's fault. That's on you. The game is intentionally restrictive here. Now, I preferentially play light mechs in AC games, and if you run a lighter chassis here, the speed matches the trailers. The devs deliberately left in early physics exploits so you can maneuver to lag cancel, recovery animations, or other absurdity. This raises the mechanical skill ceiling significantly without also making the skill floor unattainable. It's nice. However, the design does stumble a bit with pure melee builds on bosses. When dual-wielding matching blades, combat does become that rigid, zero-sum game we all know and either love or hate from Souls-likes. You can use your energy to attack, or you can use it to dodge all the random bullshit that the boss throws at you, but it's kind of hard to do both simultaneously. This does introduce a bit of you go, I go cadence that's kinda out of place here. Now, on top of all this niftiness that's in here already, there's arcade-style global leaderboards, one for high score and one for fastest clear time for each mission. And this dual leaderboard system changes the demo from a basic vertical slice into a repeatable mechanical test. It gives the players a reason to keep the build installed. If HitBreak fixes the camera, this competitive loop is exactly what will sustain the player base during development. Now, it's been a long time since I've spent an afternoon labbing a mission. I think it's been since Armored Core 6, but I just spent the last 4 hours doing exactly that. It's good. Okay, let's look at the hardware data real quick. While major publishers routinely struggle with asset streaming stutter on UE5, Borderlands, I'm looking at you, Code Rapid delivers a nearly flawless flat line. I did see some minor jitter at times, but nothing that dropped frames abruptly or desynced any sort of input tracking. Y'all can see the input telemetry up there in the top left for this entire video. And because the frame execution is this consistent, input latency beyond your baseline frame rate and engine sim is non-existent. The engine responds appropriately when you push a button, and it does what you expect when you push the thing. No matter what's going on screen or how panicked you might be at the time and you're button mashing furiously, you can frame perfect things here, which does bring us to one of the core design issues. If the engine responsiveness is this instantaneous and the hardware is this unconstrained, why are some folks saying that the mech in the second level and the final boss fight feel completely unmanageable for human reflexes? This one's simple, actually. 2 reasons. 1, some of the attacks need to have their tails tweaked, both audio and visual. They're snug. To put this into perspective, my own reaction time averages from 120 to 140 milliseconds, provided I'm well rested and hydrated and all that. And I have a hard time consistently tracking the tells. Someone with a more average response time is gonna have a bad time. 2, the breakdown happens because the camera tracking actively hides crucial gameplay information from you. The final boss of the demo is a flying mobile armor thingy called the Locust, and it's a primary source of frustration. And the players are entirely right here, but not necessarily for the reasons they say. The issue isn't necessarily player reflexes. When the Locust flies directly overhead and rains down bullshit on you, the camera positioning script pins itself flat beneath your mech to look straight up at the sky. Look at the screen here. Because the camera angle is locked looking vertically upward, you completely lose sight of the ground. And this creates unacceptable, frankly, visual blind spot. While the camera forces you to stare at the sky, the boss paints these red death lightning zones on the ground that you cannot see. You cannot track their boundaries, and you pair this with the snug telegraphs I mentioned earlier for the boss's other attacks, and you have a fight where the player is effectively blinded by the UI, and unless you decide just to go for face and zerg it down, it's not great. Now, before you take to the comments about how I'm using the hard lock on, yeah, I know, we'll get there. Be patient. Realistically, this design failure can suppress build diversity. Lightweight configurations get punished instantly, forcing players to switch to heavy chassis setups with lances and Gatling guns to simply brute force the encounter and soak some of the otherwise avoidable damage. Now, I did clear it with a light mech, but I am a fan of do it perfectly or get melted strategies in my games. So coming back to what I said about the lock-on, the user experience issues extend to the basic controls. By default, the game uses a camera soft lock-on system, and this works exceptionally well for mouse and keyboard. But if you're playing on a controller, which is the standard for third-person action games, the soft lock-on completely fails when fast enemies exit your main field of view, because now you're thumbsticking and claw gripping and using the back paddles at the same time. That's a lot. Yes, there is a hard lock toggle, which is nice, and there is the option to swap these around, so the hard lock is the default, and the R3 click then toggles to the soft lock in the settings menu, so you could be forgiven for missing it. There is a fundamentally solid mecha game here, under these rough edges. And as a nearly day one Patreon backer from December, I think, the technical, creative, and mechanical progress HitBreak has made on Code Rapid is undeniable. The soul is here, the technicals are solid. Hell, despite what the Steam forums would have you believe, I think the sound is good. And I wore SimGot EM6Ls while playing, which are notorious for revealing problematic mids and highs. Now, HitBreak is looking to wind down their Patreon to focus entirely on the Kickstarter, meaning this single demo has to carry the financial future of the project. At the time of this recording, a run rate of, I think it was 4,500-ish a day, against a $280,000 goal, they're on track to stall out halfway. The technical foundation is a gold standard for indie development. The actual fight characteristics are great, but know that there is still much work to be done here. If you've made it this far, maybe check out another video on the channel before you click those YouTube buttons to subscribe and whatnot. Make sure the things I do here are your vibe and earn your time. The robots on the back end think you'll probably like this one. I've been Bald Squid, and I'll see you next time. Kickstarter's linked in the description.